We're so ready to smash.
Not as crisp as the first one.
Oh, I guess we're all here to smash. All right, welcome to Movie Vaders with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk.
I'm Kyle.
Today we're joined by Kam and Tristan. Kam is a stunt actor. Tristan is writer, director, and animator, you said? Right now we'll be talking about Captain America Brave New World. This is non-spoilers.
And Kam Jones and Tristan Crawford.
Oh, did we add their last name?
Well, I wanted to prove to them that I knew their last names.
Oh.
Do you know our middle names?
Jeffrey Jones and
Jeffrey Jones?
X. Kam X Jones. Kam times Jones.
I'm Kam. Kam. My middle name is X now.
Do you remember when I just guessed your middle name?
I don't. That was
I don't remember what it is.
I'm okay with that.
Garfield.
Damn,
No.
he got it. Okay. Yes.
Good try, though.
Captain America, Brave New World.
Welcome to guessing middle names. Okay, just like I want to get the temperature. Is where are we at? Like yay or nay?
I was yay a few days ago, but after thinking about it a bit more, I'm leaning towards nay on the whole movie.
You know, I keep on bouncing back and forth with it. I do have a thought that even the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie is better than some other action movies.
What's the worst MCU movie?
Not the Marvels, right?
I actually still haven't. I haven't seen the Marvels, but that's specifically because I was working so much I just missed it, seeing it in theaters. But no, I think you could say there's plenty that people can say that are worse.
Yeah. For the Dark World.
Yeah, people say that one, Black Widow, Eternals, Thor, Love and Thunder. But honestly, depending on who you are, you could love any of these.
It's true.
And that's the thing, including the movie that we're about to talk about, Brave New World. Yeah, there are times where I'm like, okay, why did you do all of these things? But at the end of the day, I remember I was in theaters, I was watching it, and I had fun. There was some fun times during it. It was a Marvel movie, so even though there are some faults, there is some level of quality that you're not going to get in like the Sony movies. That when we Venom trash movie. Brave New World is not a trash movie. It's just not one of the best MCU movies. It's not even one of the good MCU movies, but you can still have fun during it.
Venom is fun. This is not as fun as Mrs. Chen and Venom dancing.
That wasn't fun.
That was fun.
So cringy.
Okay, fine.
Go on.
Also, I like the Marvels. When I apparently invalidated my opinion by saying that. I've seen the Marvels many times, twice in theaters.
I like the actors in that.
The Flurkin scene, which you don't know what I'm talking about.
I've seen that scene.
Okay, yeah. And they play the song from Cats.
People hate Brie Larson for absolutely no reason.
I don't know. It's crazy.
I think she's great, and then I love the actor for Miss Marvel. I like the Miss Marvel TV Disney Plus show. I thought she did great. The writing could have been better, as almost all these Marvel projects could. But the thing with almost all of these main Marvel characters, their actors are good, and we'll be talking about that with Brave New
Anthony
World.
Mackie's great. I don't think anyone's arguing. Even my mother
There's
texted me
only
to go,
people arguing about it, but they're the people that you don't want to be friends with. They're like,
let's take that from a wildly different angle.
Yes.
There are people who will talk about female superheroes in a way that proves they are never going to find a girl, settle down, and then you can get married. And
find a person, settle down.
Yeah, the point is, like, if you are watching a kid's movie getting angry at them using a girl instead of a boy, are you not fathoming a universe where you'll be watching this with a female, like, child in the future, like a nephew, a niece, or a child of your own? Everyone who complains about a girl superhero movie, I'm like, you're telling on yourself. You're saying, I can't get any, I'm not going to make kids, and one of those kids might not be a girl. I know I have 2 daughters, but, like, I was thinking that before I had 2 daughters. It's just, like, the lamest thing you can do.
It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to come at this at a different approach to try to reason with them, right? These people that we just don't want to be friends with. The ones that are like, oh, there can't be a woman Thor or a woman, literally fill in the blank on any of these women characters that we're bringing in.
Sure.
Do they not want to look at women?
Oh, yeah, because that's the other thing that my wife will point out in comic books is like, hey, why do they draw all the women like this? And I was like, well, but look at how they draw the men. That's an unattainable standard, except for my quads.
Yes.
Quads.
Quads.
But yeah, if I was gonna look at a comic book, comic books have women drawn in a specific way, and why not make them the central part of the comic book? Like there's Catwoman comic books where she's the central
Everyone has a comic book, so I don't know what the argument is with, like, you know, Thor turning a woman, She-Hulk. Oh no, the next Black Panther is a woman. It's like, okay, what? So what's the complaint?
So my other big problem with this too, and maybe we can get into it later in the spoiler section as well, but like a lot of these female characters have existed for like 10, 20 plus years anyway too, right? So when we see like, you know, Catwoman or some of these other female heroes in Brave New World, it's like they've been around since like the early aughts, you know, at minimum. So it's like, and I'm not trying to gatekeep, but it's like, and I know these movies are made for the casual audience, but when they come in, they're kind of like, that can't happen. It's just kind of like, well, you don't know the history behind these characters that kind of have shown up and have been around since this, you know, 50, 60 plus years anyway. Like, I personally, I don't know what the argument is, or sorry, I don't understand what the anger is when people are like, that can't happen. It's like, well, it's a fantastical world. Like, of course, you're going to have people from all walks of life, you know, who come from outer space and different dimensions doing fantastical things. So like, why not have those kind of people show up and try and save your world? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm out of pocket.
Yeah, you're out of pocket for saying women are equals.
I'm wrong. It's let it be known. Cam Jones is wrong.
That was too easy. I mean, obviously it's correct to say women should not be equal. Jeez, Jesus Christ! You guys are on the fence. Cam sounds like you're on the fence with.
I actually didn't like the movie.
You don't like it? Okay, I will come out hard for it. I don't know that I actually feel that way. I watched it once. I intended to see it again. I haven't. Instead, I've watched Paddington in Peru and Neja 2.
Which is great.
Which one?
Neja 2.
Neja 2 is as good as Neja 1. Have you seen Neja?
Are those the animated Netflix movies?
Oh, no, they're not Netflix. They're made by China, okay? And
not Paddington.
Oh, Paddington's not a Netflix or Chinese movie. It's a British movie.
I'm sorry, it's about the Neja movies. I'm sorry.
The Neja movies are based on, like, I think a 12th or 13th century story.
Yup, and he was friends with Sun Wukong at some point. There's like a whole mythology behind.
What did you say, Sun Wukong?
Yeah, Sun Wukong and Neja end up meeting in the... Oh, sorry.
Spoiler for Neja 3. Oh, man. Sorry, everyone listening to the non-spoiler section. You think people are still listening after our strong defense of women being fantastical characters?
Oh, boy. I'm going to get canceled before my career even gets started.
Your career is... This is the pinnacle of your career right now. Tristan, I'm going to ask about real-world parallels, but before I do... Well, let's discuss what Cam is going to when we discuss real world parallels. Actually, did you have something? You have a pivot before that? Because I'm going to read some real world sayings that have happened. Brave New World, not my Cap. Drunk Uncle, SNL.
Nope, I did hear about that one. I heard that today. On Weekend Update, they had Drunk Uncle come on, and he said a very brave thing.
Or Brave New World, not my Captain America. But he's supposed to be your drunk uncle who says dumb. It's counter to, I don't think they thought it was brave.
So which approach do you want to talk about this new Captain America movie?
In what sense?
What do you got on your to-do list?
Oh, well, I guess the other one I like is that even Bill Maher made a Hulk smash joke about the current administration and then says, you voted for Dracula, why are you surprised he wants to suck your blood? I think it could go either way with Thunderbolt Ross, because is he the establishment that leads to, the inevitable conclusion of being a president, or is he the, radical that comes from one side to take over? Is he Joe Biden or is he Donald Trump?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. I'm really stupid when it comes to politics, but I'm gonna try to combine my Marvel and politics and hopefully make a cohesive thought.
And we want people who voted for both to listen to the show, just to be clear, because we want the numbers.
Okay, fair enough. The Ross that we see in this movie, Brave New World,
is different.
Is described as this guy that gets angry all the time, that he's war-driven, but then we don't see that as much in this character, in this version that Harrison Ford plays. And I was making plenty of jokes throughout the movie that, you know, he turns into a red monster into the White House.
He got shot at.
Yeah. I think if Trump saw this movie, he is what he thinks he looks like. A strong commander that gets forced to turn into a monster.
That's a take. Yeah. Okay.
Whether that's the case or not,
I would love to watch this movie with Donald Trump. Could you imagine how entertaining that would be versus watching it with Joe Biden, who would fall asleep?
he would fall asleep. And I think about, like, do these people are they actually as evil or as intelligent as they like portray themselves to be? I'm trying so hard not to like here's one way or another.
Can I hit you with what a theme I think the movie and we'll have to discuss it more in spoilers. Instead of the hero being stronger than the antagonist, the hero's superpower is that he makes peace with the antagonist. And I am down with that being the message they want to get out there.
But the thing is, I feel like that's almost half of all superhero movies that they try. Every other Batman movie is that. It's like, I don't kill. Okay, so what's the option of not killing? Okay, I'm just going to stop you. Let me talk you through this. Yeah. And you said we're going to talk about it in spoilers, so I'll keep on talking about like Thunderbolt Ross. I think when they were writing this movie, they were trying really hard to not make him one candidate or the other. They were trying to meet in the middle.
How do you feel about that choice?
I think maybe if we didn't have the last 10 years that we just had, I would have liked that decision more.
You think we got to make a choice?
Yeah, but then that turns into a whole issue on its own.
Because half the audience will be turned off?
Yeah, or it's just like it'd be too obvious. I think we are supposed to root for Ross at a certain point, because first off, he's Harrison Ford. Like, he's just Harrison Ford. Like, oh yeah, we all like Harrison Ford. And throughout most of the movie, we see him try to be caring. He says to Sam that, like, hey, I want to make things better for the world. We need to make the Avengers. I need your help. So you're supposed to support him. But then he just kind of flips on a dime on Sam the moment something goes south and doesn't let Sam in on the mission.
Well, and it's in the previews that he gets shot at. So, like, you know, I mean, I think that could be a life-changing event for anyone.
Maybe not the guy that's faced the Hulk multiple times. Thunderbolt Ross has
been hunting the Hulk. He's been hunting.
He's the Hulk hunter.
Yeah.
But at the end of Incredible Hulk, which they date changed from 2008 to 2011, but I would argue there's no indication that the 2008 Incredible Hulk takes place in 2008, is there?
Do the dates matter? Why does that matter?
Yeah, no, they did release a timeline where and I don't know if the specific dates, but the Iron Man 1, when they found Captain America at the end of Captain America First Avenger, and Hulk, the Incredible Hulk 2008
take place within the same week.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know the exact date, but it does kind of matter, especially when you have like three movies coinciding by themselves like that.
Thor too, I think.
Is it Thor as well taking place? Yeah, that makes sense as well. So
it's Nick Fury's something week where
I thought it was Coulson's.
Oh, maybe it's
I think Coulson goes around.
Yeah, Coulson.
But anyway, why did you bring up because he does face the Hulk? He's in front of the Hulk. Yeah, and he's around him all the time.
I don't know why he does turn on a dime. He's used to being shot at.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh man, you had your chance, and now you got to get out of here."
Well, it's because of a mutual of a friend of Sam's had committed the act, right? And someone that because trust was being brokered at that point, right?
Sure.
And so now trust is broken, and that's like, I can see why Thunderbolt Ross flipped out the way that he flipped out. Now, but back to what you were saying earlier, Tristan, I just wish that they would commit to an idea and stick with it instead of kind of, I'm not saying that to be like, well, pick one, pick a side. I'm saying that, like, in terms of just movie making, right, to make it, because for me the movie felt very
disjointed
and just very mid. Like, I wasn't excited really throughout the movie, but if they just really committed to an idea and stuck with it, I would have been a little bit more invested with the turnout. We can talk more about it in the spoiler section, but it was like Could
you give an example of tonally what you're referring to?
The lack of agency for Harrison Ford, because like you said, you're meant to technically sympathize with Harrison Ford's character, because like it's Harrison Ford, we don't want to make him the bad guy, right? Or we do want to make it, he's supposed to be, like you said, a man caught in the middle of a situation. And like you said, if it was Trump, he's like, oh, they made me the villain.
The deep state made me the villain.
Right, rather than the other way around, that like he's actively making choices that leads him down this path, rather than having it happen to him. to me, that's what makes a good villain, right? Darth Vader, right?
He's choosing it.
He actively made choices that made him Darth Vader.
As we then better say for spoilers, so I'll pivot to a grab bag of topics. It's questionable what is being chosen by Thunderbolt Ross. I think that's a good point out, even in the non-spoiler section, because you're going into it going, oh, what is this movie? And it's Captain America and then co-lead Thunderbolt Ross. I was like, who would have expected Thunderbolt Ross to be the co-lead of a Marvel movie at this, at movie 35? Do we want to talk about whether or not you need to have watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier? How does this movie handle race? Should it have inserted more topics on race, which kind of goes into Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Did you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I watched it too. So it's interesting because a lot of the issues that they talk about in Falcon and Winter Soldier is like, should Sam be Captain America? Are there better people to be Captain America? I want to go strictly, first I want to start strictly about the superhero side of it, and then there's obviously the race implications of it, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But they're talking about like the super soldier stuff, like should I be a super soldier?
Should I take the drugs?
Yeah, and they say that they say that in the show, but then they gotta re-emphasize that in the movie throughout it. And I feel like they try so hard to make Sam be good enough to be Captain America. Like he has to have vibranium wings. He has to have 2 drones with him. He has to know all these martial arts skills that we don't necessarily see him too much do in other movies.
Yeah, we do. Ant-Man, we see him do all that martial arts stuff.
You mean where he gets his ass kicked by Ant-Man?
Yeah, but that's because he's still learning, and he'd just become a Falcon in the.
Either way,
it's also heavily implied that he's like top of his.
Well, yes. Well, yeah. The flight training I did. I'm not rejecting the idea that he can be Captain America. The issue is, I think they're trying to make him too much like Steve Rogers. When I wish they would have pushed more into the Falcon part of it. Like I think the opening scene for the movie, where he goes into the base.
He's in Mexico.
American base.
Yeah, and
where
he's just
buy is
fighting the
supposed to
guys
happen.
hand on hand. Okay, cool. That's exactly what literally any other person that would have been Captain America would have been. But he's not just Captain America. He's his own Captain America who can fucking fly. I would have liked to see an action set piece at the beginning of the movie where he has to make decisions around a building, something that Steve could never do. Let's say there are terrorists all around the building pushing people out the windows or something like that. Steve couldn't do that. I think they needed to prove that he doesn't need to be Steve. He needs to be better than Steve.
They need to pull a Miles Morales versus Peter Parker kind of thing. Now I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I can get behind that.
I'm going to push back on a couple of things.
Go for it.
I don't think Steve Rogers is a superhero because of the super soldier serum. And I don't think Captain America Sam Wilson is, special because he has 2 drones and wings, although the wings do factor into his fighting style. I'll flip back to you and say, what makes Steve Rogers a hero?
May I interject?
No, I'm asking both of you. I want you to. You're the prime guest. Tristan's here as a.
So I always operate under the idea that 2 truths can exist at the same time.
Okay.
Right. So yes, Steve Rogers took the super soldier serum, and I think what Tristan and Sam Wilson did not. I think what Tristan is trying to say in this regard is that they're just 2 fundamentally different people trying to work for the same idea, right? So 2 + 2 = 4, but 1 + 3 also equals 4, right? So you're just approaching the situation just differently. And before we get into the next section about the idea of what Captain America really stands for, and which really ties into people missing the point of what Captain America stands for and what he is. I agree with you, Tristan, in that Steve Rogers could do the really cool stealthy thing, drop in, do what he did at the beginning of was it Civil War?
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, that's the one. On the boat.
Yeah,
with his
it was
fucking
almost
Batroc.
the same thing. They went into a base, beat up a bunch of soldiers, and then what they both do at the end of each fight, they dropped the shield and did a hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Which I'm like...
Arguably, people could see that as a parallel to be he's trying to be like his mentor. But I agree with you in the fact that it's nah, man, you got wings, drones, zap them from outside the building and take care of your business.
I like what you're saying about the 2 + 2 and 1 + 3.
Yeah.
They both equal 4. Steve, I remember in Winter Soldier when he's fighting that guy, the guy comments hey, what are
you without the shield?
Yeah, so he puts the shield down and they fight.
He's still a super soldier,
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
kind of a dumb question.
So it's
I can see the point that they're trying to prove. But
Steve has an idea that people should like get hope from, whereas Sam
what they should
be
aspire to.
yes,
And it's
exactly.
literally the movie.
And I think what would have been good for that scene, not let's say we didn't do the big flying around the building thing like I suggested because they don't have the budget, whatever, right? Okay. I think, yeah. Instead of him dropping the shield, he should have been like, I'm not trying to prove anything to you. Just throws the shield, hits the guy in the face, move on. We have people to save. I don't have time to be dealing with whatever you think honor is, Mr.
Indiana
Terrorist.
Jones shoots the gun instead of learning the choreography.
Because there's a sense of urgency that, there's supposed to be a sense of urgency in the opening scene because of all the hostages, right?
Yeah, Sam can't afford the same liberties that Steve had being a super soldier. Sam,
there's so many layers to that statement.
Yeah.
There's so many. Wow.
Well, there's the racial element, obviously, but I truly think that what makes Sam a hero is that he chose not to take the, performance enhancing drugs. Sorry, Anthony Mackie is taking PEDs in The Night Before, which is a Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah, I don't know about yes.
I just watched it around Christmas
Okay.
because it had been 10 years since
and you're probably the only one that understands the references that you're
I
making.
am very much so going, hey, that's Falcon. And Falcon's taking PEDs.
No, that's actually Captain America.
At the time,
Captain Falcon.
Black Falcon.
I didn't want to be the one that said it.
They say it in the movie.
They say it in the show.
The show, excuse me. The
Yeah.
movies and the show, it's all the same. Quentin Tarantino was right. We're just watching TV in the cinema. No, but that he chooses not to take it in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I do think that Falcon and Winter Soldier, even if you didn't watch it, it's a value add because you already saw him not question it, taking it before. So now to see him in this questioning, as any good, a good person isn't sure they're good. Equalizer 3, because he's like, have you seen Equalizer 3 when he's like, are you a good man? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, like, only a good guy wouldn't know, or something like that to Denzel.
So
that's Denzel. He's here to tell you got it right.
So with that, I would really like to see the movie beginning to end with him juggling this idea, do I need the serum? But we don't see that. We only see that towards the end when an incident happens and it's a one conversation and then we move on. I'm trying not to get into spoilers, but throughout the movie...
He says it twice. I'll bet you there.
Okay,
he does say it.
In the middle and toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
Middle...
I should have taken the damn thing he makes as a
okay,
joke.
That's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay.
And the one at the end. Anyway, it's not really a moral he's talking about throughout the movie. And it doesn't seem like that's something that he's challenged by throughout most of it, whereas I think that's a flaw of the writing of the movie is where we don't really know what I think the threat could have been bigger. It could have been more gamma.
I want to push back on, I don't mean to interrupt, I just want to push back on something.
Go for it.
Because I don't know if it, maybe this is a bit more of a spoiler. There a lot of the fights that happen in the movie, Sam gets his ass kicked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's just kind of like, why am I even watching this? Like, it's a little too one-sided. In the movie, when he gets beat up, and it just kind of like, for me, it questions him like, is he the right guy for this job? Should he be taking the serum? And I know they kind of question that twice later. It just, I don't know. It just made me.
Let's go back to what makes Steve Rogers a hero and what makes Sam Wilson a hero. I think they're different things.
You think so?
Yes, and I think you can define them.
What do you think?
Okay, thank you for the question. I'd like to be baited on this. I think Steve Rogers, even though he is incapable of fighting, is righteous in the fight, as seen in First Avenger. Like, even though he isn't strong enough to stand up to what's wrong, he's going to stand up because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sam Wilson is more of a reciprocal to the bad choices of other men, in that he is trying to help people subsequent to bad things happening. So Steve Rogers is on the front end of the war. Sam Wilson is what you get after the in the best sense. Sam Wilson would be what you get after the war. Somebody's trying to help people readjust to civilian life after being in the hell of war, and that person is more of what we need, something to aspire to, than the one you believe in who's like, I'm doing the righteous thing and I'm fighting, and that's Steve Rogers.
I can actually agree with that.
Damn it, this is a disagreement show.
I don't think they did enough of that in the movie.
I would agree. I would agree with that. They didn't do enough of that.
into the movie from all of the 10 years of movies Sam Wilson has been in. the character.
Yeah, I can. It's hard to kind of talk about this without the spoilers. And
You can spoil any movie up to this point. How
But
about?
and so to kind of bring it back to like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and to kind of like everybody else's, or at least the discourse surrounding Anthony Mackie's Captain America, right? Because they're talking about like, well, this isn't my Captain America. He doesn't stand up for the same ideals. You know, he's un-American, or the one that I heard he's Captain African American is the other one that I've heard. So,
No, really?
yeah, it's messed up. And you keep talking, and you're talking about these ideas and these ideals, and it's like, well, we've seen what happens when you do put somebody else in that role, when they take the super soldier serum and they look like Steve Rogers, right? And they couldn't have symbolized it more on the nose enough in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when John Walker literally kills a surrendering terrorist. I didn't say innocent. Surrendering. He was surrendering.
Yeah.
Right. And had blood on the shield.
Yeah, he murders a guy. That came out right like 2 weeks before Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder, I recall, because it was 2021.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But it's for me, the discourse is just kind of funny because we've had what they're demanding before. We've seen what happens.
And it didn't work.
And it didn't work. So now we have someone who won't take the serum, who's now trying to live up to these really lofty ideas on the back of a not apocalyptic, but because it was just after the snap, right? So they're trying to because we're in the MCU, we're in a world where they're trying to rebuild because everybody's come back now. Whole world is completely restructured. We've had giant celestials, grow out of the ground and all this other crazy stuff, inner multi-dimensional stuff happening. Like people are trying to get their lives back together.
We don't know that they know about the multi-dimensional stuff yet.
Well, except maybe
There's
Doctor
been tears in the
Strange.
universe and such.
Spider-Man knows too.
Yeah.
No Way
Doctor
Home.
Strange.
Yeah.
And okay, what in Doctor Strange would show the 616 that there's a multiverse?
Oh, to everybody else or just to Doctor Strange?
I don't know if
Obviously
it's
Doctor
everybody else.
Strange knows, but it's
right.
what does the general population
I don't know if the rest. Okay,
There's
maybe,
one person that knows, and we can talk about that in spoilers.
Okay, well, I don't want to lose I enjoy talking about what the ideals are, and I like science fiction because it helps people talk about an ideal without the maybe high emotions that come with reality. I'll give a weird example. When we were at war in Iraq, I remember Battlestar Galactica being on and the Cylons being the bad guys, but then there was some question about were the Cylons really the bad guys at different points? And it's like, well, are they terrorists or are they freedom fighters? What is causing them to want to do this? And potentially showing that empathy for the other side, it goes beyond just might makes right. We have to fight. Those are the bad guys. We're the good guys. Sam Wilson is the nuance of reality, whereas Steve Rogers is just the initial ideal. And when you evolve past that, you get to Sam Wilson. In my mind, that's where the way I was evolving with these characters.
I can't disagree with anything that you're saying, and I think that's the crux of what everybody, or at least everybody who's creating this this discourse around this Sam Wilson's Captain America about, is that they're missing that these heroes, these are larger than life, mythological knights, are supposed to evolve, right? Like these ideas are they're kind of missing the whole point of what Captain America is in that regard, right? He does start off with these might make this, stand up for the little guy, right? Ideas, but then it grows into, okay, now there needs to be more nuance about having empathy for your enemy, right? And I can't disagree with anything that you're saying.
Well, that goes back to Iron Man 1. Sorry,
Keep going.
Disagreement show, so I'm going to try to disagree before we bail out of this
I know,
segment.
I'm being difficult, I'm sorry.
Iron Man learns that the people he's going to kill off in the Middle East aren't the actual source of the problem. He learns that it's the enemy from within. Isn't that what he says in Iron Man 2008? It's the enemy from within, and that it's Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring it back to part of the conversation that you guys were talking about with Steve Rogers and
Okay, yeah,
Sam.
come on.
I don't think Steve and Sam are flipped from each other. Steve starts out wanting to do what's best for America, but throughout all his movies, throughout all three Captain America movies, he goes against the military at some point. First one, they tell him not to do something, he goes against it. Second one, goes against S.H.I.E.L.D. because they're all a bunch of Nazis. Third one, he wants to go save his friend, so he goes against the Accords.
He's always fighting against the system that's created him.
And by the end of it, he's just so done with the idea of military. Whereas Sam, society has just beaten him up, and that's what we see in Falcon and Winter Soldier. In this movie, he decides to try his absolute best to try to work with the military, and we see that
within the system.
Yeah, and I just think that's interesting because they both have different reasons. You would think Sam would not want to do this,
and that's kind of the funny
because we see him with Isaiah Bradley, his friend that was locked up for years and now is back being locked up.
Spoiler.
That's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
What, him getting caught?
So they're definitely inverses of each other, and that might be an issue for the movie, where let's have Captain America actually support the military.
I honestly think that was actually part of that I think it's part of the conversation, though, because you tie race into it, right? I think that's what they were trying, and this is why I was saying they didn't really commit to an idea, because it kind of like soft poke it. But as I tell my mom today, it's like they were playing it safe. The movie's safe. It's very safe.
So you think it's too safe? It's not taking a choice. See, this is the thing I thought about the Marvels, is like, maybe this is a commentary about Palestine and Israel, but then they were like, oops, this movie came out a month after October 7th in 2020.
No. It's been about
2033.
Has it been 2 years?
Well, I mean, it's a year and 3 months.
I
had heard there were severe edits in the last month before the Marvels was released. And I'm unclear on, because you know how the Skrulls are like, they're the bad guys in the comics, but then they flip it in the movies where like, no, they're actually, as we see in Captain Marvel, they're refugees. As they use the term.
Right.
Yeah.
They also made a very interesting, talking about the whole Israel-Palestine thing, they also made a really interesting choice in Brave New World, we can talk about in spoilers as well, too. It's kind of like a blinking.
With Sabra?
Yeah.
Okay, we know Sabra's in the movie. Okay. We'll try to speed run through all the non-spoiler topics.
Okay, sorry.
So, too safe, we're all kind of on board with that. I pivoted to Israel-Palestine, so that shows you how safe this movie was.
Yeah.
Reshoots, do we have any additional thoughts?
So apparently, like...
There are so much reshoots.
Well, so from what I heard, like, I don't... Just because I like to read a lot. The whole point, they were saying that, was it Anthony Mackie and somebody else who was, like, one of the lead producers or something like that? So the reshoots were actually, like, on schedule. They didn't do anything that deviated too far off.
Yeah, the director said that. I saw that. And I've also seen a $180 million budget reported. I've also seen a $300 million budget.
So I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Movies reshoots all the time. That's common.
All the Marvel movies do.
Yeah, especially Marvel, because they have to. But you can definitely feel where the reshoots are happening with this, because they added a character. What's the actor's name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, who is amazing in whatever he's in.
Yeah, he's great.
The way you can tell that he wasn't meant to be in the movie, most of his scenes are by himself, or Cap is talking to him.
Yep.
So think about all 3 scenes that he is in. He's barely interacting with anyone. And he's supposed to be, Cobra Commander of Serpent Society? That's what he's in.
Cobra Commander of Serpent Society.
They were originally supposed to have a WWE actor actually play
and
he got cut out entirely.
There's like 3 to 4 villains in this movie where they could have just confined it to 1 plus the big one, but then they just kept on adding to make it better, and that didn't work.
They should have just
and
kept it
they
to
made
one
these villains so, especially his in particular, besides him being a good actor, his character, I don't know who his character is. How is it we're how many years in the MCU are we? Are we
since 2008?
Like 15?
Yeah, 15
years?
17.
What is he? A guy in a trench coat and a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't want to do
Blades, yeah.
anything else to pop.
Well, thank you for joining us for the non-spoilers. Let's hop right into spoilers.